Parental arguments leave lasting effects on children who witness them frequently. These children often develop concerning patterns in adulthood, such as anxiety and relationship difficulties. Understanding how arguing affects kids remains a significant concern for parents. Research shows that parental disagreements affect children based on conflict management styles. Kids naturally think in self-centered ways and might blame themselves for their parents' arguments. However, they can learn valuable lessons from seeing their parents resolve conflicts constructively. The research findings reveal important insights about this sensitive topic. Our discussion will look at specific age-related effects and provide practical guidance for managing disagreements around children. Parents' conflict styles significantly shape their children's emotional growth and future relationship patterns. What research reveals about kids witnessing arguments? Research about how parents argue has grown a lot over the last few decades. Parents now have clear guidance about how arguing affects their kids. Not all conflicts affect children equally. The way parents argue matters more than the fact that they argue at all. The difference between constructive and destructive conflict. Parents who involve themselves in constructive conflict show how to solve problems, make compromises, and stay affectionate even during disagreements. In stark comparison to this, destructive conflict shows up as verbal aggression, physical hostility, stonewalling, or withdrawal. Research points to specific destructive behaviors that hurt children. Verbal aggression, including name-calling, insults, and threats of abandonment. Silent tactics like avoidance, walking out, or giving the cold shoulder. Capitulation, giving in that appears to solve issues but doesn't really fix them. Constructive conflict guides children toward better outcomes. Studies show that children develop better social skills when parents have mild to moderate conflicts with support, compromise, and positive emotions. These children feel more emotionally secure and face fewer psychological problems. Children who see their parents work through disagreements often end up happier than before the conflict started. Family therapist Cummings puts it this way: it reassures kids that parents can work things through. Key findings from developmental psychology studies. Children from homes with lots of fighting show higher cortisol levels, stress hormone. This can cause health problems, sleep issues, and developmental challenges. Babies can spot their parents' distress as early as 6 months old. The largest longitudinal study found that kids who felt insecure due to their parents' fights in kindergarten were more likely to struggle by 7th grade. This sensitivity to parental conflict patterns stayed strong even in 19-year-olds. A 20-year study in a Caribbean village looked at children's cortisol samples. Kids living with parents who fought often had higher stress hormones. They got sick more often, played less, and didn't sleep well. These children never adjusted to their family's stress. UCLA researchers looked at 47 studies about risky family environments and their long-term health effects. Adults who grew up with high conflict reported more physical health problems. They also struggled with emotional issues, substance dependency, and intimate relationships. The data shows that 12% of children have at least one parent reporting relationship problems. This number jumps to 21% in families without work. The family stress model explains why children in poverty or under financial pressure are more likely to see their parents fight. How children process parental disagreements. Kids pick up on conflict better than most parents think. They can spot tension even when parents try to hide it. Cummings notes, kids are sophisticated conflict analysts. The degree to which they detect emotion is much more refined than parents might guess. Different children react differently to these conflicts. Boys typically act out more, while girls tend to internalize their emotional struggles. A child's age, temperament, and support systems play a big role in how they handle their parents' disagreements. Parents who withdraw during conflict can cause more long-term damage than those who show open hostility. Cummings explains, kids understand hostility. It tells them what's going on, and they can work with that. But when parents withdraw and become emotionally unavailable, kids don't know what's going on. They just know things are wrong. The way children interpret conflict plays a crucial role. Those who blame themselves for their parents' arguments face bigger psychological risks. Kids who get caught in the middle of disputes face more stress, depression, and anxiety. This happens when they're asked to carry messages between parents or answer questions about the other parent's life. Parents don't need perfect solutions to help their kids. Research shows that children feel better as their parents make progress toward fixing problems. Even small steps toward healthier ways of disagreeing help children cope with parental differences. Age-specific impacts of parental disagreements. A child's stage of development plays a significant role in how they interpret and react to their parents' arguments. As children grow, they process conflict in different ways, and each age group shows its own distinct patterns of reactions to parental disputes. Toddlers and preschoolers, ages 2 to 5. Very young children can't fully understand when their parents argue, but research shows they pick up on emotional tension remarkably well. Studies reveal that babies as young as 6 months show increased heart rates and stress hormones during conflicts. Their bodies react this way long before they can put their feelings into words. These little ones often show their distress through sudden behavior changes. They get cranky and clingy when they see arguments, and some might go back to earlier behaviors like thumb-sucking. Their eating and sleeping patterns often get thrown off, and some kids might even fall behind on their expected growth milestones. The sort of thing I love about this age group is how they think everything revolves around them. This self-centered thinking leads them to believe they caused their parents' fights. Developmental psychologist Gordon Harold puts it well. What happens at home really does affect children's long-term mental health and development. Kids between 3 to 6 might react to their parents' arguments by throwing tantrums and showing aggressive behavior, having nightmares and feeling more anxious, losing ground in language skills or toilet training. School-age children, ages 6 to 12. Elementary school kids understand their parents' fights better, which creates its own set of challenges. These children often feel guilty, ashamed, and helpless when they see their parents argue regularly. Their grades usually take a hit. Multiple studies show that kids from homes with lots of fighting score lower on math, language, and verbal tests. Kids whose parents fought often in kindergarten were substantially more likely to show signs of depression, anxiety, and behavior problems by 7th grade. These children's bodies often demonstrate their stress. They report frequent headaches, stomach aches, and other physical symptoms. They find it harder to focus and control their emotions. Studies show they struggle to solve problems faster or spot patterns in new information. These kids often have trouble making and keeping friends. Many pull away from social activities or take sides with one parent against the other. This behavior creates extra stress within the family. Teenagers, ages 13 to 18. Teen years are especially tough for watching parents fight because teenagers are learning about relationships themselves. Teens from homes with frequent conflicts often act angry, aggressive, and defiant. Some completely disconnect from family life and look for emotional support in potentially harmful peer groups. This timing is especially concerning as teens learn to be independent. Research shows that parent-teen relationships naturally become more equal during these years. Teens want more freedom while parents try to retain control. Parents' fights can throw this delicate balance way off course. School becomes harder for teens from high-conflict families. They're more likely to drop out and get poor grades. Even more worrying are the behavioral risks. The largest longitudinal study links living with fighting parents to higher rates of smoking, vaping, binge drinking, and marijuana use compared to other teens. These years shape how teens will handle their own relationships later. Research finds that teens who see destructive fighting patterns often struggle with adult relationships. One study noted that even 19-year-olds remain sensitive to parental conflict patterns. This shows these effects last well beyond childhood. Research consistently shows that children never get used to their parents fighting. The effects build up over time and can shape how they develop and handle future relationships. The psychological effects on children's development. Parental conflict sends shockwaves through many aspects of child psychology. These disputes disrupt core developmental processes that shape children's personalities. Research shows that arguing in front of kids disrupts 3 vital areas: emotional regulation, attachment security, and social skill formation. Emotional regulation abilities. Kids struggle to manage their emotions after repeated exposure to parental disagreements. Studies show that destructive parental conflict makes children more prone to internalizing problems like anxiety, depression, and worry. These disorders affect up to 33% of children ages 5 to 17. The problems start during toddlerhood and get worse over time. Kids from high-conflict homes show clear emotion regulation problems. They watch their parents bickering closely. This watchfulness drains their energy and makes it hard to focus on personal goals. Their constant focus on possible fights makes self-regulation increasingly difficult. The emotional aftermath of conflict leaves a lasting mark. Boys and girls develop more internalizing problems from lingering tension between parents after disagreements. Girls face additional challenges from destructive strategies during conflict. Kids find it hard to calm down after seeing arguments. They stay alert and upset even after the fights seem over. Attachment and security concerns. Safety is a basic human need. Healthy development depends on emotional security and family relationships. Research shows that destructive and unresolved parental conflicts shake children's emotional security within the family system. Attachment theory stresses children's emotional bonds with caregivers. Yes, it is true that secure attachment to at least one parent can protect children from negative outcomes. But interparental conflict damages these vital bonds through indirect pathways. Conflict disrupts parenting, which weakens parent-child attachment security. Many studies document this domino effect. To name just one example, research found that poor conflict strategies at age 2 led to more internalizing problems at age 10. This happened because attachment security was damaged. Kids in high-conflict homes doubt their emotional needs will be met. This creates instability that threatens their psychological foundation. Social skills and relationship modeling. Kids learn relationship patterns by watching others. Parents serve as their first and most influential examples. Research shows that marital conflict substantially affects children's social functioning. Kids exposed to destructive conflict show lower cooperation with peers, reduced self-control in social situations, decreased assertiveness in relationships, more peer problems, and loneliness. These outcomes happen both directly and indirectly. Kids copy the conflict behaviors they see. Those who witness aggression between parents often use aggression to solve peer disagreements. Poor parenting from conflict gives kids fewer chances to learn proper social skills. The largest longitudinal study shows these patterns last. Kids from high-conflict homes develop poor people skills and problem-solving abilities that follow them into their teen years and adulthood. They ended up forming negative views of relationships that affect their future romantic partnerships. On the bright side, constructive conflict offers benefits. Kids who see parents solve disagreements through cooperation and good communication develop better negotiation skills. They also communicate more effectively with peers. This creates relationship templates that shape future interactions throughout life. The psychological effects of arguing in front of kids depend mostly on how parents argue rather than simply if they argue. Kids who see respectful disagreement and resolution develop better relationship models than those who see destructive patterns or complete conflict avoidance. Should parents argue in front of their child? Research published in the Journal of Family Psychology challenges the common belief that all parental arguments harm kids. Children can actually benefit from watching certain types of disagreements between parents. The real difference lies in how parents handle these conflicts, not whether they argue. How children benefit from watching disagreements. Kids who see their parents resolve conflicts constructively often feel more emotionally secure than those whose parents avoid all disagreements. Parents who argue constructively focus on one topic, work toward solutions, and don't bring up old fights. More than half of couples argue this way consistently, which creates learning opportunities for their children. Watching healthy disagreements helps kids learn these significant life skills. Managing conflict with balance and compassion. Solving problems through teamwork and clear communication. Building resilience in relationships. Conflict is a normal part of any intimate relationship, explains family therapists, and parents should not attempt to avoid or hide their differences for the sake of their children. Kids feel reassured about their family's stability when they see respectful disagreements. This security lets them focus on growing up instead of worrying about family problems. The Gottman approach suggests parents should regulate conflicts rather than try to eliminate them. Kids benefit from seeing their parents handle disagreements well. These experiences become positive relationship models they carry into adult life. When arguments need privacy, some disagreements should stay away from children's ears. Harmful high-conflict behaviors include yelling, insults, name-calling, walking out during talks, or disappearing for long periods. Regular, explosive, and unexpected outbursts make children feel unsafe and unprotected. Parents should move their arguments to private spaces if they feel the situation getting heated. Studies show kids from homes with frequent hostile arguments have higher stress hormones, sleep problems, and developmental issues. Talking about adult topics like money or unfaithfulness around kids creates needless worry and fear. Arguments that need privacy include talks filled with blame, criticism, or contempt, issues about the child that might make them feel at fault, serious relationship problems, fights during emotional moments. Making kids pass messages between parents or asking them to keep secrets causes serious harm. These situations force impossible loyalty choices that lead to anxiety, stress, and depression. Parents who show their kids how to resolve conflicts respectfully give them valuable relationship skills for life. The question isn't whether parents should argue in front of kids, it's more complex. Seeing constructive disagreements and effective solutions helps children develop emotional intelligence and problem-solving skills. However, destructive arguments must happen in private while parents learn better communication, sometimes with professional help. We have a long way to go, but we can build on this progress by focusing on healthy conflict resolution. How children's temperaments affect their responses. Children react differently when their parents argue. Temperament plays a significant role in shaping individual responses to conflict. Research shows that a child's innate characteristics substantially influence how they process, interpret, and cope with parental disagreements. Highly sensitive children. Children with sensitive temperaments show strong reactions to parental conflict. Studies show that all but one of these children are sensitive by nature and process experiences more deeply. These children pick up their parents' distress sharply and often feel overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of arguments. Temperamentally sensitive children show several distinct reactions to parental disagreements. They show intense reactions to both verbal and nonverbal conflict cues. They find it hard to regulate emotions after conflicts end. Their bodies respond more strongly, showing elevated stress hormones. Researchers call these children orchids because even minor environmental changes affect them deeply. Their sensitivity might seem like a weakness at first. Research shows these children often develop exceptional empathy and creativity in supportive environments. Resilient personality types. Some children have naturally resilient temperaments that protect them from the negative impact of witnessing arguments. These children bounce back quickly after seeing conflict and keep developing positively despite family stress. Resilience develops through complex interactions between personal traits and family dynamics. Studies show that resilient children typically adapt well to stressful situations, keep a positive self-image despite family challenges, know how to regulate their emotions effectively. Parents' support boosts resilience substantially. Research confirms that supportive parenting creates a safe psychological space where children develop coping mechanisms to process conflict constructively. Resilient children might even strengthen their problem-solving skills by watching respectful disagreements. Children with anxiety or trauma history. Children who have anxiety or past trauma become more vulnerable when parents argue. Parental conflict often triggers complex trauma responses in these children and activates heightened alertness and fear reactions. Studies reveal that children from high-conflict homes often develop what psychologists call negative emotionality. They tend to be more irritable, fearful, and react intensely to negative situations. This trait makes them more likely to develop behavior problems when exposed to negative parenting. Research also shows that children with trauma histories often disconnect mentally during stressful events to protect themselves from overwhelming experiences. This protective mechanism can disrupt their sense of time and continuity, which affects their learning and social interactions. Learning about your child's unique temperament helps you understand how they might respond to witnessing disagreements. Though temperament stays mostly innate, parents can definitely adapt their conflict resolution style to support their child's emotional needs. Long-term outcomes based on conflict patterns. A child's life path changes based on the conflict patterns they see at home. Research shows that parents' ways of disagreeing leave lasting marks that reach way beyond childhood. Children from high-conflict homes. Kids who grow up around constant hostility face serious challenges later in life. Studies show that 46% of children from high-conflict divorces risk developing PTSD. These numbers come close to those of children who see violence between parents, where 67% show increased PTSD risk. These children often struggle with ongoing emotional challenges, including higher levels of anger, stress, and depression, deep fears of abandonment and rejection, more chances of developing anxiety disorders. Research shows that constant exposure to hostile parents damages children's idea of family and shakes their sense of safety. These kids report less satisfaction in relationships from their teenage years onward. They carry these negative views about family into their adult lives. Children who witness respectful disagreement. Kids who see their parents work through disagreements respectfully learn valuable life lessons. They understand that conflict doesn't mean love goes away. This basic understanding helps them build healthier relationships. Seeing constructive conflict gives children positive relationship examples. They learn how to disagree respectfully and use critical thinking to solve problems. Watching parents resolve differences peacefully teaches kids to value other people's opinions while having respectful, positive conversations. The intergenerational transmission of conflict styles. Conflict patterns echo through generations. Research confirms that relationship styles children see from caregivers shape their own relationship patterns throughout life. Kids exposed to unhealthy parental conflict are 3 times more likely to repeat these behaviors in their future relationships. We learn this pattern happens through observation and modeling. Children internalize positive patterns when caregivers interact with affection, nurture, and support. Those who repeatedly see harmful conflict strategies learn to use these approaches as relationship tools. Early exposure to parental conflict might set the stage for both causing relationship violence and becoming victims in future romantic relationships. All the same, people can break this cycle. Research shows secure attachment can protect against negative family experiences. This helps children avoid repeating the destructive patterns they saw growing up. Conclusion. Studies show that parents' arguments play a key role in shaping their children's emotional growth, relationship patterns, and overall well-being. Conflict between parents will always exist, but their approach to handling disagreements deeply affects their children's future. Kids grow by a lot when they see their parents disagree respectfully and resolve conflicts successfully. These moments help them build significant life skills, emotional strength, and healthy relationship blueprints. However, exposure to harmful conflict patterns can leave lasting negative effects on everything from their stress responses to their future relationships. Parents should think over their child's age and personality when they deal with disagreements. Some highly sensitive children need extra protection from arguments. Even naturally strong children need careful handling of parental disputes. A good grasp of these individual traits helps parents support their children better during tough times. The power lies in parents' ability to break negative conflict cycles through constructive approaches. They don't need to eliminate all disagreements. Their focus should be on showing respectful problem-solving and emotional control. Such positive examples build strong foundations that support their children's future relationships and emotional health.